Okay, so I've been meaning to do a food prep video. It's kind of late tonight, so I'm gonna just do one set of it. I like to pre-buy my meat, separate it, portion it, cook it, and then freeze it for future prep uses. So tonight I'm doing ground chicken. It's a little bit higher in fat, but it's one I like to do, so I just use regular ground chicken. To keep the meat moist, I always dice up some onions and add some onions to my ground chicken. This is 4 pounds of ground chicken. That's a whole sweet onion. I only put half of it in there. Garlic and herb. I like garlic, so for me, lots of garlic and herb seasoning goes in there. I also like ground garlic. It's even stronger, so I definitely don't have to worry about vampires. And then I just mix it like I would, like if you're making meatloaf or something like that, but I don't add in any extra. I don't add in any egg whites. It's just strictly the meat. The only reason the onions are in there is for extra flavor and because it keeps the meat from drying out. So if you're doing, ground chicken breast or you're doing ground turkey breast, which can be really, really dry and not very tasty, hard to stomach it. So I like a little bit more fat, but I also like the meat to stay a little bit more moist. And I find that adding in the onions, it's not that much extra carbohydrates. It's really not hardly any extra calories. It's just extra flavor. So if you like onions, I like sweet onions. You can use red onions. You can do whatever kind of onions you want. But I'm just gonna mix this. And then you can see over here I have pans waiting. So yes, I have my lovely pans set out, even though it's almost 11 o'clock at night. And I do this for all my ground meat. So ground turkey, ground chicken, ground beef, ground bison. You can even do a mixture of, to keep the calories lower, you can do a mixture of ground turkey and then ground turkey breast, so that'll cut the calories down, cut the fat down. For me, that's mixed good enough. I'm gonna set up my handy dandy scale. I get 4 ounces of lean meat at every meal. If you're doing something depending on what you're prepping for, your levels are gonna change. So like for my husband, I do 6 ounces of lean meat at every meal. So I'm just going to tear this out, put it on ounces, and then I'm not doing anything fancy. I mean, you can make it into a ball if you really want to be anal retentive about it, but I'm just going to pull off 4 ounces, maybe a little over, because the onions are going to have some weight to it. So just pulling off 4 ounces. That's a little, like 4 1/4. Close enough. And then I'm going to pop it in a pan. It's not pretty. I'm going to fill up the pan, and then I'm going to cook it, and then I'm going to let it cool. And I'm gonna divide it up by, I prep every 5 days, so I'll put 5 days of meatballs in one bag and then freeze it in my food saver, and then throw it in my freezer, so that when I go to prep my 5 days worth of food, I could just have all 5 of my portioned meat ready to go, no hassles, pull it out and go. And I do the same thing for my husband's. Just set it aside, I label it as his, I put the date on it, and I throw it in the freezer. So every few months I go to Costco, and this is what I do. I buy like 20 pounds of meat, go through each one, portion it. Time consuming, but it's definitely worth it if your goals are to stay on a good diet and you want it to be easy and convenient. So that's it. That's as easy as it is.